Welcome to the Baseball Insiders. I'm Alan, joined as always by FanSided's MLB insider Robert Murray. The Giancarlo Stanton absence, any ripple effects? The Nationals reunite with their closer. Smart move, as always. Why did he linger on the free agent market so long? Plus, Roki Sasaki's sim game debut, an Astros star in the making, and Nolan Arenado hitting cleanup. We will get to your questions and more. We appreciate you joining us here to talk us through everything. On a Wednesday show is Robert Murray. Robert, how are we doing? Almost a week into spring training, five days since the first game, I guess. It's only like 5 games deep, and yet still this is the point when I'm like, all right, that's enough spring training. Let's get to the regular season.
Yeah, I'm already ready for the regular season to get here. But hello, Adam or Alan. It's nice to be back with you. Alan Wiseman, as they say in the descriptions over here. Feels good to be here. Got lots to talk about. Broke some news yesterday, which is always good. Feels good to get back on the board. And yeah, we want to talk about that because I got the behind the scenes stuff and what happened there. In addition to some other stuff that I'm hearing around the league, and also all the stuff about Giancarlo Stanton and what's going on around the league. So I'm anxious to dive into that. But Adam, how are you doing? Good to be here. Welcome back Wednesday show again.
I am good. I'm excited. Let's dive in. I was here yesterday doing the prospect show there at Cole. So if you missed that, it's on the channel. Please head back and watch that. That'll be weekly every Tuesday at this point because the minor league season begins. They take Monday off. Their weeks start on Tuesday. So what better time to do a show than right before the games are supposed to start? We'll hit you up with everything we learned from the previous week. Bring on great guests. Excited about that. This is the Baseball Insiders with Robert Murray. That's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Friday we'll be back here at 3:30 Eastern. If you like this show, we hope you subscribe. We hope you join us in the Discord. You can join at either the Rumor Mill tier or the All-Star tier. There will be a weekly Q&A with Robert in the Rumor Mill tier starting this week, 3 o'clock tomorrow. So content every day as long as you're with us in the Discord. Subscribe to the Moonshot if you haven't. That's our weekly baseball email newsletter where the FanSided MLB team, including Robert Murray, break down all the biggest stories in the big leagues with humor, insight, behind-the-scenes info. That also gets published on the Baseball Insiders feed on fansided.com. Robert's columns, my humor and insight, hopefully some insight, mostly humor, and the best of baseball and pop culture crossing over from the rest of the FanSided MLB staff writers. fansided.com/baseball-insider. So check it out. We're also on all podcast platforms. I see a little bit of an uptick in the podcast listen. So if you're there, if you're an audio listener instead of a watcher, we see you. Keep doing it. Keep telling your friends. Thank you so much for listening and hanging out with us. Rate and review us if you feel like it. We'd love to grab that as well. All right. So what's up? Let's start with yesterday's news, which you had a hand in. Kyle Finnegan goes back to Washington, one of the more surprising non-tenders and one of the rosters that maybe deserves more love for being fun and building at the margins this offseason. Nate Lowe, rightfully the focus is on Dylan Cruz and James Wood. When you have prospects of that caliber getting their first real season, full season in the big leagues, that's obviously going to steal focus. But Paul DeYoung, Nate Lowe, now Kyle Finnegan is back. The non-tender didn't totally make sense. $6 million deal. How did this go down?
Yeah, I was really surprised when the Nationals ended up non-tendering Kyle Finnegan, but they kept the door open for a return, and all offseason he was drawing interest from a wide range of teams. And at one point in January, it was in late January, his market really started to heat up, and I thought a deal might be getting close, and I was waiting on some texts there, but nothing ever materialized. There was other relievers who ended up coming off the board, but in recent days, there was other teams that were pretty engaged here. It was the Nationals, and the return there really seemed inevitable there. But you had teams like the Angels, even a couple weeks ago, they were pretty engaged with Finnegan, or they were talking there. I thought the deal had a possibility of happening. Hello, Cooper, squeaking his toys in the background. But the Angels were involved there. The Red Sox were involved. The Cubs were lingering, but they didn't. I never really viewed them as a serious threat. Yeah, Cooper is not helping my case.
Yeah, there's a serious threat in the home. I believe he's inside the walls.
Yeah, and the return for Finnegan coming back to the Nationals really seemed like the most realistic scenario. And yesterday afternoon, they ended up agreeing to terms on a 1-year contract. I'm sorry, I cannot keep it together here. That is hilarious. And Finnegan's return, just take it over.
Where is he right now? Like, how close to the he's right behind you? Yeah, Coop.
Hang on, he took the squeaker out of the toy, so I gotta take care of this one.
Yeah, go ahead and do it. I've been there. I mean, for those asking where is Biscuit, like that's Biscuit's whole thing. He eats toys, takes the squeaker from the inside out. Suddenly there's plastic in his mouth. You're like, why is there fur on the ground? Biscuit did a whole roll of toilet paper in like 18 minutes the other day. He does not go in the bathroom very often because we do not let him in there. But I've just, I think I was on a call. I left, came back out. Toilet paper is just gone. Just shredded it. Luckily, didn't eat much. But these dogs are great guys. They're also menaces. And you confiscated Cooper's noisemaker there.
Yeah, I did. And I was trying to clip that one for Twitter. So Cooper just absolutely ruined that one. So thanks a lot, Cooper.
We're probably going to clip it anyway, I think.
Yeah, I was thinking to myself, this is great content, behind the scenes stuff. And all of a sudden Cooper just awakes from his extended slumber and just absolutely just boshes that clip. So thanks a lot, Cooper. But no, that was good. That was good content. That was fun. What a way to start the show here.
So we're looking at, you think they were the most logical spot all along. The Cubs probably never really close to materializing, just sort of a loose connection.
Yeah, the Nationals always loomed as one of the more likely teams. I did think a couple weeks ago that the Angels might swoop in and get him. But for whatever reason, they were talking and then they bowed out. I think that might have been an Artie Moreno thing. But yeah, Finnegan was a player of interest, but they just never got it across the finish line. They never really got it close either.
Well, we still have to pay attention and see if a couple other relievers will be signing in Finnegan's wake. David Robertson still on the board. Plenty of familiar names still have yet to land. And the Angels ultimately end up with Kenley Jansen. So they've got a closer in place. The dominoes are starting to fall, but camp's underway. We got it. Not only is camp underway, game action is here. We need to get a couple more landing spots for some familiar faces. And speaking of a team in need of maybe some reinforcements, the Giancarlo Stanton thing is weird. It's even weirder since the last time we spoke. He traveled back to New York and everybody was told it was for more examinations, talk to Chris Ahmad about his double tennis elbows. Sure, that makes sense. Right. We know he's not going to be there for the start of the year. We know it's going to take, we know it doesn't totally matter either, as long as you get Stanton healthy when you need him, which is what Aaron Judge said. We need a healthy Stanton by the summer or something like that. But then Aaron Boone steered the conversation, called it a personal matter, why he was away. It said he wasn't back the next day either, and he could address it when he got back if he wanted to. All right, well, that's going to raise alarm bells, obviously. So it's time to start thinking about this being a long-term thing, and the Yankees were already sort of one bat short, which is why we're laughing about Nolan Arenado traveling 3 hours from Palm Beach to Tampa to hit cleanup for the Cardinals today in today's Yankees Cards spring training game. Yankees need a third baseman. They think they might have internal solutions. Well, okay, they might need a DH now. So anyone they bring in, if they do bring somebody in, it would be helpful if they could play the field as well. The Yankees, Stanton is Stanton. There's nobody like him, but when he's a Yankee, he's a DH. He blocks that spot. You can't rotate people in and out. You can't give people rest. So if they're going to get a bat of any kind, I would be inclined to say no to JD Martinez, no to anyone who costs real money who can't play the field. I'm looking at David Peralta a little bit. I'm looking at Luis Ariz a little bit, and obviously Arenado and Willie Castro in the third baseman. But am I right to be looking at potential additional bats for the Yankees at this point, or what can you even tell me about what to expect from this Stanton situation?
Yeah, starting with Stanton here, it's clear he's got some sort of personal issue going on based on what's being reported out of camp there. And the team is going to end up giving him as much privacy and time that he needs to in order to figure out whatever it is. So all I can do is extend my best thoughts there. But as far as that goes, and then also his tennis elbow, that's not an ideal situation here for the Yankees, because as you said, they were a bat short, and Stanton is a significant piece to what they end up having there. But that being said, we had John Heyman on the podcast last Friday, and he made it clear that the Yankees do not have money to spend. Like, I think he even used the word broke when it comes to the Yankees. So, which that's not often a phrase you hear with the New York Yankees. So you would seem to think that would rule out a guy like Luis Ariz. Arenado has never really loomed as a serious option for them, at least as of this point. Maybe that changes. I don't know. It is interesting, though, that he's making the drive over there to be batting cleanup against these Yankees. So who knows? But I think if we're looking at options for them, a guy like David Peralta makes the most sense, because you'd imagine he probably ends up getting a major league contract at this point, but it's not going to cost them that much. And if they can end up bringing him in, that would really provide an additional bat, but also like a veteran voice in that locker room, which is always a good thing. So I think it makes all the sense in the world for the Yankees to do it. I know there's some other teams that are poking around with Peralta. Among teams that I think make sense for Peralta, not saying that they're in, but I think make sense, are the Giants and the Mariners. But I don't know how realistic or likely those two options are.
Yeah, not to be the Yankees guy, but I have to be. Like, the bench needs help anyway. So even if Stanton was fully healthy, I would endorse just throwing a couple of $1 million at David Peralta. Obviously, they are broke boys, so we'll see what we get. I do agree that Ben Rice is better than Anthony Rizzo at this point. I like getting Ben Rice reps. Ben Rice put on muscle. A little 111-mile-an-hour single yesterday. Don't hate seeing that. But, yeah, I mean, Anthony Rizzo, I hear you. Alex Verdugo to play left. Move Jason Dominguez to DH temporarily. Sadly, I hear you on that as well. We'll have to see if the Yankees have a couple of bucks lying around, because whether it's a big move like Ariz or Arenado or just a small one, they clearly could use some reinforcements. And even when Stanton comes back, and even when the team's fully healthy, you got to beef up that bench a little bit. It can't just be random guys who weren't starters who you're like, well, we could put these guys on the bench. They can live there. Everson Pereira as a DH option, thinking about him as well. So don't let that get lost in the shuffle. But
no, for sure. And also too, it's like the vibes so far with Yankees camp don't feel that good. I mean, they lost, I mean, Soto in free agency, obviously, but Stanton's dealing with his thing. Scott Efros got hurt. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago?
Threw one pitch yesterday and walked off the mound, and an all-time Brian Cashman trade that has not worked out at all.
No, and then I mean, there's been some other just weird vibes overall there, and yeah, it's been rough start to Yankees camp. I mean, the sky isn't falling by any means, but they need some good juju, and if that comes in the form of players stepping up on their roster or bringing in somebody from the outside, I think they could absolutely. They need something here to provide a spark.
Yeah, 100% agreed. We'll see if we can get some infusion and of the non-Dom Smith variety. And speaking about Smiths, I did watch Cam 2 home runs Smith hit 2 home runs yesterday. Watching him pretty closely. The Astros pivot from we could talk about the ripple effects of not trading for Nolan Arenado all day, but trading Kyle Tucker and not bringing Alex Bregman back, it felt safe for a little bit to be like, this is weird. This feels like a step back. I don't love Altuve in left field. Anyway, 1 year of Kyle Tucker gets them Cam Smith 2 bombs yesterday. Long-term future at third, it would seem. Isaac Paredes, nothing to sneeze at. Christian Walker, certainly nothing to sneeze at. The outfield's a little weak, and I don't think Altuve solves that problem. And obviously, you remove Kyle Tucker, you weaken the outfield. But I don't mind the Astros pivot at all, and I feel like the future is relatively bright there in Houston, even if, you're not counting on Tucker re-signing or a big, $400 million deal materializing. They made some savvy moves this offseason, even if you didn't love them as a fan.
For sure. But before I dive into that, I want to say, Andrew, thank you very much ×2. And Adam, I'm going to echo Barron's comments. Your transition game is absolutely fire. So I wanted to give you a shout out for that. So good job by you.
I didn't even notice that one. Apparently I did it. I did Dom Smith, Cam Smith. Yeah, I guess that wasn't so bad.
Yeah, then all of a sudden he said it was nothing to sneeze at after I sneezed twice. So I gave you that. I want to just, good job by you. But with Cam Smith, he was a player that the Astros identified in trade talks immediately with the Chicago Cubs. And honestly, like, how can you not? Like, he's always been a player that evaluators are extremely high on. And if you talk about either him or a guy like Matt Shaw, you're thinking possible future all-stars. We're talking guys with extremely high upside. And the Cubs really were not willing to part with Shaw. But that being said, Cam Smith was not a player that they were eager to part with. But the Astros wanted him. They got him in the trade for Kyle Tucker. And if you're able to get long-term Cam Smith for 1 year of Kyle Tucker, that's a move you make every single time. And I think it was a really strong move by that Astros front office. And in an offseason that really was a year of transition. You're looking at no Tucker. You're looking at no Bregman. Obviously, they've had changes before that too. But getting Cam Smith was a priority for them. They got him, and now they have possibly the guy to build around long term. And I would not be surprised at all, but if by the time this is all said and done, if we're talking about him being a 5 or more time All-Star by the time his career is over.
I would completely agree with that. And I'm not saying the Astros are going to run away with the West like they have for the better part of the last decade, but it does feel like people believe in the Rangers as a bounce back. I do too, but it's Rangers and Astros in whatever order you prefer them, and then significant distance from the rest of the division at this point.
No, for sure. I also want to call out Adam here for providing fake news on this podcast, or Alan. He said it was a 4-hour drive for Arenado today. Ken Rosenthal in foul territory just tweeted that it's 3 hours.
I mapped this earlier. I saw 3 hours and 18 minutes. I apologize if I misspoke. Everybody knows that's not 4, and that's on me.
Yeah, no, thank you, Adam. You got to hold people accountable on this podcast here.
Well, I did hear. I heard that he went the first 35 minutes, stopped at Publix, but accidentally missed the exit. Had to double back to one that was like 20 miles behind. So it's only about 3 hours as the crow flies, but he had to go 4. So I hope that helps.
See, this is the kind of content you can only get on the Baseball Insiders. That's as good as it gets right there. So
Nolan Arenado, terrible driver. Yeah, terrible driver, not paying attention, missed the exit entirely, had to double back for a sandwich. So Ken Rosenthal, anytime you want to go tete-a-tete with your driving sources, let me know.
Yeah, there's not a reporter who's got better public sources than Adam Weinrib.
Really, back-to-back wild swings of opinion about Allen in the comments here. I was told Allen was good, all caps, and then right back after that, I'm starting to distrust and dislike this man. Hey, we do what we can. Sometimes we just got to go head-to-head with Rosenthal. And hey, we were doing Kyle talk earlier. Let's keep doing Kyle talk, because Kyle Teel at the sim game that the Dodgers and White Sox played, you may wonder why Roki Sasaki's first sim game of the year was not really advertised on Dodgers social media, but it did happen to end up on White Sox social media because Kyle Teel went yard off him. He got barreled up a couple of times there, including by someone named Tim Elko, who I'm not familiar with. But Tim, if you want to come on the Baseball Insiders or maybe the Prospect Show, would love to talk about your experience of sending Roki Sasaki to another planet. Obviously, first sim game, nothing to get worked up about. But that said, if you are the Dodgers, you obviously did not want the first impression to be memed by the haters on the internet. As a Yankee fan, I know how that feels. Everybody had their knives out for Garrett Cole's first spring training start a couple of years ago. I think he gave up some home runs in a windy game against the Tigers, and I had to watch those highlights, so you got to watch these. But the more newsworthy part of it all was it did seem like they maybe were giving some wiggle room with so much pitching depth to, hey, maybe if Sasaki needs some more time to build this up, we can start him at AAA. You don't necessarily know that he's going to crack the major league roster right away. Doesn't really matter either. But thoughts and first impressions on maybe the Dodgers plan, if they saw what they were looking for, and if you anticipate him starting the year on the big league roster for opening day.
Yeah, I would exercise just like patience here with Roki Sasaki.
No.
It takes time for sure for guys to adjust coming to major league hitting and just major league environment overall, but he's going to be totally fine. I think they're very happy with what they have there. They think by the time like obviously he's got the talent and the ability to be one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher. Like, they think extremely highly of Roki Sasaki. So I would not worry about him giving up just an absolutely massive tater overall, but he's going to be a significant part of that rotation for this Dodgers team. And exactly how it all plays out throughout the entire regular season, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know if the Dodgers are sure either, but this is why spring training is so long, so they have time to figure this out. But everything that I've heard from people in the Dodgers organization and also outside of the Dodgers organization suggests that they're very happy with what they have there, and as they should be. They got him for a minor league contract, which is just absolutely crazy. Yeah.
And if he's, competing at the level, look, there's no shame in giving up a home run to Kyle Teel, even a moonshot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the moonshot. But Kyle Teel is good as hell. Like, there's a reason that Kyle Teel and Braden Montgomery were the headliners in the Garrett Crochet trade. It's because it's really hard to find a catcher with a hit tool. And here's one. And they were able to swap one of the top lefty pitchers in the game in exchange for him. So this is more a good for Kyle Teel for me, making your presence known. Barron commenting how long is it going to take till these White Sox prospects get them back to relevance. not this year necessarily, but I do love the player. And sometimes it's hard to peg, okay, who moves out of the way, how long will it take for prospects to ascend, who's blocked. Does a catcher get stuck in a backup role and edged out? Kyle Teel, this one's easy. Like, he's going to be the White Sox starting catcher probably within a year, although there is more catching talent in that pipeline. So really hard position to find that the White Sox are even going to be able to trade from that depth at some point. Perhaps maybe, Cuero grows out of the position, becomes a first baseman. I don't know. I'm just talking out of it here, but there is a lot of talent there. It's not 2025 talent, but maybe Teal's more ready than we thought.
I'm going to go on a wide-ranging tangent over on this one, so just bear with me. But the White Sox are going to be a tough watch this year, and I don't know if they're going to end up winning as many games as they did last year, which that's not very good, if we're being honest. But there's hope. Like, you have Kyle Teel, you have Braden Montgomery, you have all those prospects you got from the Garrett Crochet trade. You already have prospects in the system who have promise, and Chris Getz did really well with this Crochet trade. So White Sox fans, like, this year is going to be really tough. It's going to test your patience once again after last year. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel, even if it takes a couple of years or a few years to get there. But the big tangent that I want to go on here is that trade specifically, it fueled the White Sox's rebuild. It really jump-started it and got it into a much better place. And a team like the Toronto Blue Jays should have done that last year. And they had a prime opportunity to go out and trade Vladimir Guerrero Jr. They had an opportunity to trade some of those pitchers on their roster. They had an opportunity to trade Bo Bichette. I mean, granted, his value wasn't as high as it was in previous years, but there was still like a prime opportunity there to end up allowing that roster to totally compete in future years. And they did not even entertain it as far as Guerrero Jr. and Bichette go. And to me, that was a huge mistake in the moment. We'll see if exactly that turns out to be right this year. They've invested some resources into that roster this offseason, so we'll see. But I thought that was a huge swing and a miss by the Blue Jays last year at the trade deadline. And the White Sox's trade involving Crochet, where they got all these prospects back, kind of really makes me feel stronger in that way. So we'll see who's right, but the White Sox had a prime opportunity, and they just did not even take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the kind of tangent you get when you're listening to the Baseball Insiders podcast, by the way. The good stuff. Roki Sasaki will be fine. The White Sox might be fine, but it'll take a bit longer to get there. But hold out hope. Wait for the prospects. Wait for the names. And sorry, Blue Jays fans, for the stray. Anything else in the notebook that you want to cover before we move on to just a couple of questions?
Yeah, there's hang on. I want to make sure I have this list totally right here before I end up talking about it. Because I thought I had it pulled up. I did, and then all of a sudden it disappeared. So bad job by me.
It's just a picture of Cooper eating a squeaker.
No, that's precisely what it is. It's but as far as like the remaining free agents go here, I want to dive into it. Okay, we're getting close here. So among the best free agents that we have on the market, oh my gosh, and it just loaded again. We have Jose Quintana, we have Alex Verdugo, David Robertson, Jose Iglesias, Anthony Rizzo, Adam Duvall, JD Martinez, David Peralta, as we mentioned on the show before, Whit Merrifield, Robbie Grossman, and Matt Carpenter, among other players. There's still some talent out there, and Iglesias, especially as he continues to linger on the market, he's made it clear that he wants to return to the Mets, but we're just not at that point, and I would not expect a return to the Queens there unless something just drastically changes. Still don't expect Quintana to go over to the Mets because they seem pretty happy with their depth. As I reported on a previous show, and I'll echo this again, among the teams that I've heard that are looking for a starting pitcher include the Cincinnati Reds. I mentioned that they're looking mostly at an NRI. I would not be surprised if that turns out to be a major league contract at some point. We'll see exactly what happens, but not saying anything is imminent, but they're a team to watch, especially as guys opt out of their contracts for non-roster invites. So that's among the things that I believe we could see in the coming days or coming weeks. And also some other teams that make sense for some starting pitchers, either on the trade market or free agency, include, I think, the Braves, the Blue Jays make some sense. Brewers, I've been just hounding them about possibly signing Quintana. I think the Cubs make some sense. The Mets seem like they're pretty pretty content with their depth, and then the Reds. So those are the teams that I think make the most sense here for some starting pitchers.
Yeah, the Reds have been hit with a couple of early injuries too, and Brett Lauder, we don't necessarily know if he's going to be back full strength when they need to be. Kyle Gibson, good shout in the comments that he is still available as well, so make sure to note. A couple of all-star questions. We've got an inundation of comments about the Pirates, so I do want to ask if there's anything Pirates related to discuss, and mostly it's that whole, we talked about this on the prospect show yesterday. Thomas Harrington showed up yesterday and debuted a pitch that broke the charts. It registered as the most impressive stuff plus pitch, that slider sweeper of anybody. It was like 164 or 100 as an average. It was crazy. Harrington, Bubba Chandler, Bailey Falter borderline squeezed out of the rotation after the Andrew Heaney signing. They've got so much depth at AAA there. But we've talked about Chandler in the big leagues. We've talked about, Chandler could start in the minors and nobody would bat an eye because there's a lot of talent. Do you have any sort of inclination on how the Pirates plan to view their opening day starting rotation after the Heaney move? I know we talked about this a little bit on Monday, but the Harrington showcase yesterday changed the equation even more for me.
I still wouldn't overreact to it so far. I mean, we're very early into spring training here. The Pirates are still figuring it out. But they made it clear that they view Skeens as a guy that's going to make 30 starts. They want to have as much depth in that rotation as they possibly can. And you got to figure that Heaney's going to end up factoring into that rotation, probably in the lower part of it for sure. But they have an embarrassment of riches there in that rotation. It's a really good place to be. And that's exactly what they wanted. Maybe they can end up looking at another bat. I don't know. But to me, the Pirates, I have nothing new to report on the Pirates. I will. Yeah, that's what I can say right now. I have nothing new.
Appreciated, of course. And MLB deadline news, I was trying to pull up the White Sox schedule because you're asking when the White Sox are going to win their 10th game of the year. And I want to be optimistic and cool, but they've got a home series with the Miami Marlins May 9th through 11th. I think they sweep that series. They're definitely winning on Saturday for 1940's Varsity Sweater Day. And I'm going to be nice and say that Saturday game is their 10th win of the year, May 10th.
Ouch. May 10th. So that is what we're talking. So we got March, April, May. I mean, ouch, dude. You're not. I'm going to take the over on that, if I'm being honest. I haven't even looked at their schedule. I'm taking the over.
I'm checking it. I'm finally checking. I mean, they've got the Stros at home. That's not easy. They go to Detroit. That's going to be cold. Go to Cleveland. No thanks. At Fenway for 4. They play the Red Sox 7 times in April, by the way, in case anyone was like, oh, are the Red Sox going to get off to a nice start this year, maybe? Yeah, no kidding. MLB gave them the White Sox 7 times. So, yeah, they'll be okay. At A's, the White Sox have a shot, and I'm going to give them that whole Marlins series. So 1940s varsity. Go get your varsity sweater. Cheer on your White Sox. And they're going to get a big win on that Saturday at 6:10 p.m. Central Time.
Well, if that ends up happening, clip this and remember it forever, because that will be one of the best predictions of all time.
Yeah. 7 Red Sox, White Sox games in April. MLB is so in the tank for the Red Sox. It's crazy. Well, thank you for joining the feed today, everybody. Wednesday afternoon show. We will be back at our regularly scheduled time on Friday, 3:30 Eastern. As far as I know, John Heyman will not be filling in for me again this time, but sometimes it happens. You never know. He's here on occasion. And when he is, we love to see him. But I'll be here. Alan will be here on Friday. I did a Finnegan's wake drop for you guys in a transition earlier too. Didn't get some love on that, but that's okay. I will regroup. I will recover. Robert Murray, thank you for joining us as always. And if anyone is not subscribed, subscribe. If you're not in the Discord, join the Discord. What more can I say? You've got a Q&A tomorrow, and we'll get back after it on Friday afternoon.
No, that we will. Yeah, it was funny of Cooper to only interrupt over the part that I really
the most important selection of the entire podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all thanks to this little squeaker right here. So shout out to Cooper for that. But I appreciate everyone who tuned in. I know we all do appreciate that. Adam, I appreciate you. Everyone in the comments, we appreciate you. And Joanne, our lovely producer, we appreciate you. And we'll see everyone back here on Friday.
See everyone right back here. Turn your bell on. We'll see you at 3:30 Eastern, Friday afternoon. Final Baseball Insiders of the week. Until then, take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.